Have you ever had that moment where maybe you're walking through a brightly lit mall or you're just endlessly scrolling through your phone and you suddenly feel like reality isn't quite real anymore?
Oh, yeah, like everything around you is just a copy of a copy, you know?
Exactly, like a weird glitch. Well, today we're looking at the philosophical blueprint that proves you are entirely right about that feeling.
It is a pretty wild ride. We're getting into Jean Baudrillard's work on simulacra and simulation,
Hmm.
and it is, well, it's heavy stuff.
Right, so the mission of this deep dive is to explore this mind-bending stack of source material. And the core premise here is intense. The argument is that reality, as humanity once understood it, has essentially been murdered.
Murdered and completely replaced by signs, models, and simulations.
Yeah. So we're essentially living in the crime scene of that murder, right? It's a profound philosophical provocation. We're no longer living in the real world. We're operating inside a simulation of the real.
Right, a space where the representations of things have just entirely consumed the things themselves.
To really grasp how this happens, we need to anchor this in a story. The fable of the map and the territory. There's this old Jorge Luis Borges story that serves as the perfect starting point.
I love this analogy. It sets up the whole concept so well.
It really does. So in the fable, there's this great empire, and they become so obsessed with cartography that they build a map so insanely detailed it covers the entire territory of the empire exactly, mile for mile.
A literal one-to-one scale map.
Right. But as the empire eventually declines and falls, the giant map frays and rots away in the sun and rain, leaving just the actual Earth behind.
But the author of our source material argues that today, that fable is entirely reversed.
Which is such a crazy flip.
It really is. The thesis is that it's the territory-like actual physical reality that is rotting away today. The map, meaning the simulation, the model, the image, that is all that survives.
Wow.
Yeah. We now live in what the text calls the desert of the real, the hyperreal. The map actually precedes the territory now, and it engenders it.
Wait, hang on. How does a map actually start generating the territory? I mean, how do we lose reality without noticing? Because we don't just, wake up one day and decide everything is fake.
Right, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly through a
Mhm.
systematic breakdown of how we use images and signs. The text outlines 4 successive phases of the image.
Okay, let's break those down.
Sure, so in phase 1, the image is a reflection of a profound reality. Think of it like a mirror. It represents a basic, unvarnished truth.
Okay, makes sense. What's the second?
In phase 2, the image masks and denatures a profound reality. It distorts the truth.
Right.
Then in phase 3, the image masks the absolute absence of a profound reality. It plays at being an appearance, functioning almost like sorcery.
Whoa, masking the absence. Okay.
Exactly. And finally, in phase 4, the image has no relation to any reality whatsoever. It is its own pure simulacrum.
Okay, let's unpack this and translate it into something we all interact with every day. Let's think about your social media feed.
Oh, that's a perfect modern parallel.
Right. So stage 1 is a candid photo. Your friend snaps a picture of you laughing at a restaurant. That reflects a profound reality of that exact moment.
Yep, basic truth.
Then stage 2 is taking that photo and heavily airbrushing it to mask a blemish. It denatures the reality. It's a distortion.
Which leads right into stage 3.
Exactly. Stage 3 is posing in front of a green screen in your bedroom to fake a vacation to Paris. You are masking the absolute absence of travel. You aren't distorting a trip. You're hiding the fact that there is no trip at all.
Right, it's playing at being an appearance.
And stage 4, that's an entirely AI-generated influencer who literally doesn't exist, has no physical body, but dictates real-world fashion trends. It has no relation to reality at all, but the model creates the real-world behavior.
That is spot on. And when society hits that 4th stage, something really fascinating and frankly dangerous happens.
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia, like missing the good old days.
Well, more like a panic. Because the real is gone, society enters this collective state of panic. We begin a frantic overproduction of truth and lived experience. Oh, like why we're so obsessed with raw documentaries or reality TV.
Exactly. Authentic, artisanal, everything. We do this because we are desperately trying to prove to ourselves that we are still real. We manufacture the feeling of reality to cover up its disappearance.
That makes so much sense. So this desperate panic to prove reality still exists pushes us to literally freeze and resurrect the past. Let's bring up the story of the Tassidae tribe.
Yes, the 1971 case.
Right. So in 1971, the Philippine government cordoned off this undiscovered tribe deep in the jungle. They supposedly had lived for 8 centuries without any outside contact. And anthropologists pushed the government to lock them away in the virgin forest so no one could touch them or taint their society.
The paradox of that event is just stunning when you look at the mechanics of it. For ethnology as a science to live, its object of study must die.
Wait, really? Why does it have to die?
Because if anthropologists actually interact with the Tassidae, the tribe immediately ceases to be these untouched savages. Their original reality is destroyed by the observation itself.
Oh, I see. Like the observer effect in physics.
Exactly. So by freezing the Tassidae in a virgin forest, science simulated their sacrifice to save its own reality principle. We made them into referential simulacra.
Referential simulacra. Okay, what does that mean practically for the listener?
It means they became a fake reference point. They were placed in a glass case, basically, cordoned off by modern law and modern helicopters to serve as a mirror for modern anthropology.
Wow.
Yeah, we needed them to remain perfectly savage, to validate the science of anthropology itself. We manufacture their pristine state.
We museumify the world to pretend we haven't already paved over it. I mean, there are so many surreal historical examples of this stockpiling in the text, like the mummy of Ramses II.
Oh, that's a great one.
It was flown to Orly Airport in Paris and received with full military honors. A modern military guard saluting a dead Egyptian pharaoh. And the source points out they didn't do that to actually honor an ancient king.
No, not at all.
They did it because an accumulative culture panics if it can't visibly hoard the past. We need to physically touch our origins to reassure ourselves they exist. Or, oh, look at the Lascaux caves in France.
Like the cave paintings.
Yeah, they closed the original caves to preserve the ancient paintings from human breath and then built an exact replica just 500 meters away. Everyone goes to see the fake, which renders both the original and the fake completely artificial.
Exactly. We fake the past to pretend we still have a history. But what the source argues is that the implications for the present are even more severe.
Because if we're faking the past to prove time exists, what are we doing with our immediate physical spaces?
Right. We are building spaces explicitly designed as imaginary to trick ourselves into thinking the world outside of them is real.
Which shifts our perspective completely on Disneyland. When you look at the mechanics of a theme park through this lens, it isn't just Pirates of the Caribbean and Future World.
The analysis actually starts in the parking lot.
Yes. The text describes the parking lot as a concentration camp of cars, this place of total concrete isolation. But inside the gates, you have this warm, gadget-filled, perfectly directed crowd.
And what's wild is that the true function of Disneyland operates as a third-order simulation.
Hang on, third-order simulation? What are the first two orders in this context? Let's clarify that for everyone.
Sure. So a first-order simulation is an obvious counterfeit, like a forged painting. You know an original exists somewhere.
Okay, got it.
A second-order simulation is mass production, like a factory churning out identical cars. The copies are real, but they are based on a prototype.
And the third order?
A third-order simulation is where the model comes before the reality. There is no original anymore.
So how does Disneyland fit into that?
Disneyland is the third-order simulation because it presents itself as an explicitly imaginary world for a very specific reason. To make you believe that the rest of Los Angeles, and by extension all of America, is real.
Oh, wow. So it acts childish and infantile so that we believe the adults outside the park are actually adults.
Precisely. When in fact the hyperreal has swallowed everything. The childishness is everywhere. Disneyland is a deterrence machine set up to rejuvenate the fiction of the real.
It's a physical decoy. And what's crazy is this exact same mechanism operates in our political systems, not just our amusement parks. The text brings up the Watergate scandal. And I just want to explicitly address you, the listener, right here. We are absolutely maintaining political neutrality. We are just reporting the source material's philosophical analysis without taking any sides.
Right. This is purely about the mechanics of how scandals function in society.
Exactly. So with Watergate, the journalists and the political system worked together to loudly denounce it as a massive scandal. But the function of that outrage wasn't actually to uncover the truth, was it?
No. The function of the outrage was ideological deterrence. By treating Watergate as a shocking scandal, the system implies that capital and power usually operate morally, with a social contract.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, denouncing a specific event as an anomaly hides a much darker truth, according to the source. That the system of power is fundamentally immoral, and operates entirely without rules.
So the media and the government point all their cameras at Nixon and say, look at this bad actor breaking the rules. Doing that creates a boundary. It tells the public that everything outside of Watergate is ethical.
Exactly. If Watergate wasn't treated as a scandal, the illusion of moral system would collapse, because the immorality of power would just be recognized as normal reality.
It's the Disneyland trick again. Watergate acts as the scandal to make us believe the rest of the government is righteous, just like Disneyland acts as the fake to make us believe the rest of the country is real.
That's the core of it. The system stages a crisis to artificially revive itself. And this absolute control, this simulation, doesn't just happen in physical parks or political capitals.
Where else does it happen?
It happens right in our living rooms, through the media. The 1971 TV varied experiment called The Louds is a perfect case study for this.
Oh, the Louds. That was 300 hours of nonstop broadcasting of a real California family, right?
Right. And eventually, the family totally fell apart on camera. They separated. The whole thing was a disaster. But the producers claimed they filmed it as if we were not there.
Which is a completely impossible claim. I mean, the camera doesn't just passively capture reality, it alters it entirely.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is that TV wasn't a mirror reflecting the Loud family. TV was the truth of the Loud family.
Wow.
The camera pierced their reality and put it to death. And this marks the end of the panopticon.
The system of surveillance, right?
Right. Historically, the panopticon is a system where a central guard watches prisoners who can't see the guard. But in the era of the hyperreal, there is no central guard.
Because it's no longer that you watch TV or that a central authority watches you, it's that TV watches you.
Exactly. The medium and the real blend into a single, indistinguishable nebula. The distinction between the active watcher and the passive subject is just abolished.
Okay, wait. I'm stuck here. Let me push back on this a bit. I have 247 news on my phone right now. I have documentaries, live streams, and more facts at my fingertips than any human in history. If the media is constantly giving us all this information, shouldn't we have more meaning? Like, shouldn't we understand the world better?
You would think so. It seems counterintuitive. But the source's shocking hypothesis is that information actually devours meaning.
Devours it. How?
It exhausts itself in the staging of communication rather than creating actual meaning.
Yeah.
When you have the 24-hour news cycle, the goal isn't to impart deep understanding. The goal is to keep the channel on.
Oh, so the medium consumes the message.
Exactly.
You see this so clearly in how we consume historical tragedies through screens. Take the TV broadcast of the Holocaust miniseries mentioned in the text. Using a cold medium like television to broadcast a cold, tragic event actually cools down the history even further.
It does. It promotes a passive forgetting rather than a true historical awareness.
Right. You cry at the screen for an hour, you feel like you've done your moral duty by feeling sad, and then a commercial for detergent comes on, and the reality is completely wiped away. The television format itself neutralizes the horror.
And the simulation can even precede the physical event. Look at the film The China Syndrome.
Oh, the movie about the nuclear meltdown?
Yeah. It actually came out right before the real-world nuclear accident at 3 Mile Island in Harrisburg. The simulation induces the reality. The real world arranged itself to mirror the movie.
That is so eerie. And when you look at Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse, now the lines disappear completely. The argument in the text is that the film isn't a critique of the Vietnam War. It is the war.
Exactly. The war became film and the film became war.
Coppola acted like a military general. He was dropping real napalm on real forests in the Philippines just to get special effects for a movie. The Americans might have lost the actual physical war, but they won the global cinematographic victory.
The reality of the Vietnam War was entirely consumed by its cinematic simulation. The media staging the event becomes the only event that matters.
And this implosion of meaning in the media translates directly into the physical architecture of our modern world, right? The hyperreal starts dictating the concrete and steel of our cities.
Absolutely. The best example of this is the Pompidou Center in Paris, also known as Beaubourg.
Oh yeah, Beaubourg. It's this bizarre piece of architecture covered in exposed tubes, escalators, and primary colors. It looks like an oil refinery dumped in the middle of a historic city.
And the creators thought they were making a monument to democratize traditional culture and art.
But the text says it's something entirely different.
Right. Beaubourg is actually a machine for making emptiness. It is a monument of cultural deterrence.
A cultural incinerator.
Exactly. The brilliant unintended irony is that the masses don't rush in to quietly learn about fine art. They rush in to physically destroy the building with their immense weight and inertia.
Yeah, the sheer volume of tourists wears down the physical structure faster than it can be repaired. It's wild. The masses are enthusiastically participating in the mourning and liquidation of a traditional culture they always secretly detested.
It's a perfect physical manifestation of the hyperreal.
So, how does a 1970s French art museum connect to a modern listener's daily life? The mechanism of Boberg is the exact same mechanism as the modern hypermarket.
Yes, the massive triage centers.
Right, the giant big box grocery stores, the sprawling retail centers that destroy the traditional city and replace it with the metro area.
And in the hypermarket, objects are no longer just commodities you need to survive. They are tests. They ask you a directed question to which the answer is already programmed.
So you don't just buy a product.
No, you participate in a permanent referendum.
Let's modernize this for everyone listening. Think about walking into an Amazon Go store or navigating a massive self-checkout labyrinth at a superstore. Every movement you make, every item you pick up or put back is tracked, analyzed, and fed into an algorithm.
You aren't wandering through a market, making organic choices.
Right. You're wandering through a completely controlled, simulated socialization. The barcode, the scanner, the endless aisles, the predictive advertising on the screens above you. It is an integrated circuit of control. You are a data point bouncing through their programmed maze, constantly answering the system's multiple choice questions with your wallet.
The hypermarket is a triage center for human behavior. We've seen how the hyperreal consumes history with Ramses, politics with Watergate, media with television, and our physical spaces with the hypermarket.
But there's one more frontier, isn't there?
Yeah, the final frontier of simulation, the place where this gets truly visceral, is human biology itself.
The body in the hyperreal. The source material views cloning and holograms as the ultimate bodily prosthesis. With cloning, the mother, the father, and sexual reproduction are entirely abolished.
Cloning is described in the text as a cancerous metastasis of a base formula.
Wait, what do you mean by metastasis of a base formula? That sounds like a medical textbook.
Well, think about how biological reproduction normally works. Two entirely distinct individuals combine to create something entirely new, full of mystery and genetic variation.
Right.
Cloning removes the other person entirely. It is a single string of code, infinitely duplicating itself, exactly the way a cancer cell rapidly replicates its own damaged code.
Oh, wow. So the human isn't a complex, evolving being anymore. The human is reduced to pure reproductive data.
It's the end of the imaginary mirror. You aren't reflecting an image anymore. You are just a copy of a hard drive.
And the hologram does the exact same thing, but visually. It extracts your double with a laser so you can immaterially pass right through your own spectral body. It's the absolute end of mystery.
And to push this to its absolute limit, the text looks at J.G. Ballard's controversial novel, Crash.
Oh, Crash. This is the most intense example. The novel envisions technology not as a helpful extension of human function, but as a violent deconstruction of the body.
In the novel, the car accident essentially becomes a new form of sexuality.
Right, you have chrome, crumpled fenders, and shattered windshields physically merging with human mucus and new wounds. It sounds grotesque, but why does this prove anything about simulation?
Because it creates a completely functional technical language of the body. The human body isn't a romantic vessel anymore. It's a technical object interacting with other technical objects.
Oh, so the wound becomes an artificial orifice.
Exactly. A new sign to be exchanged in a hyper-technological ritual. It is entirely devoid of traditional romance or even of perverse psychology as we usually understand it.
It is humans physically merging with the machinery of the simulation. And here's where it gets really interesting. The argument here is that Crash isn't some dystopian warning about a dark future.
Right. It is hyper-functional and ambivalent.
It proves that classical science fiction, the kind where we build spaceships, explore new galaxies, and expand into unknown universes, is totally dead. We no longer project outward into the cosmos.
Simulation forces us to implode inward. Real life, with its endless models, AI influencers, screens, and hyperreality, has become the science fiction.
We are no longer anticipating the future. We are trapped in a constant simulated present.
The map has entirely replaced the territory, and we are wandering through the fraying edges of a reality that no longer exists.
It really makes you look at every single interaction differently. From the map eating the territory, to Disneyland hiding the truth of American society, to the 24-hour news cycle devouring meaning, and finally, our own bodies becoming biological codes and crash test dummies in a world run by algorithms.
The overarching mechanism of every single phase we discussed today is deterrence.
Deterrence from what?
The simulation deters us from realizing that the reality we are looking for has already vanished. We are kept busy interacting with the signs of reality shopping in the hypermarket, voting in the simulated scandals, watching the historical tragedies on television, so we don't notice the void beneath our feet.
It's an incredible amount to process, but I want to leave you with a final mind-bending thought to mull over based on everything we've unpacked today.
It's a good one.
If all our institutions, our media, and even our cultural rebellions are just anticipated models within the hyperreal, is your very desire to unplug or log off from the system actually just another programmed variable that the system requires to simulate its own existence? Are you actually fighting the simulation when you put your phone down, or is the simulation just wearing your face?
Something to think about.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. We will catch you next time.